Imagine this for a moment. You wake up with energy pulsing through your body. Your joints feel light, your mind is crystal clear, and when you glance in the mirror, you actually recognize the vibrant, smiling person staring back at you. No brain fog, no crushing fatigue, no dread about the day ahead. Now, picture the opposite. You wake up already exhausted. You reach for the pill bottle on your nightstand, shuffle to the kitchen for your first cup of coffee, and quietly ask yourself, is this what getting old is supposed to feel like? As a physician with more than 3 decades of experience, I can tell you with absolute confidence, no, that is not just aging, that's lifestyle. And the difference between someone thriving in their 72nd and someone struggling in their 52nd usually comes down to a handful of daily choices. Today, here on Senior Health After 50, we're diving into the 5 most powerful lifestyle strategies science has proven to extend your years, strengthen your body, protect your brain, and most importantly, make life more joyful. And if you stay with me until the very end, you'll hear not only the research, but also the real-world stories of teachers, athletes, grandparents, and even some familiar public figures who turn their lives around with these habits. So before we begin, do me a favor. If you find this message valuable, gently tap that like button, share this video with someone you love, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on life-changing health insights designed especially for you. 1. Preventing disease before it starts. As a doctor who has walked alongside patients for more than 3 decades, I can tell you this. When people come into my office after a major diagnosis, whether it's diabetes, heart disease, or even cancer, the question that haunts them most is, could this have been prevented? The truth is, prevention is not only possible, it's often far simpler than treatment. Science makes this crystal clear. In 2020, researchers found that eating just a few more servings of vegetables each day sharply reduced the risk of heart disease. Another study showed that adding a mere 66 grams of fruits and vegetables, think about that, less than a single apple, cut the risk of developing type 2 diabetes by a full 25%. But let's step away from numbers for a moment and look at real lives. Take Bill Clinton, the former US president. After undergoing quadruple bypass surgery in 2004, he faced the reality that political power and success couldn't shield him from clogged arteries. Doctors advised him to rethink his entire lifestyle. Clinton famously shifted toward a mostly plant-based diet, rich in vegetables and legumes, and the transformation was visible. His cholesterol and weight improved dramatically. What happened to him is a reminder that even people at the highest levels of influence can be brought down by poor daily choices and lifted back up by simple changes. And in my own clinic, I once worked with a man named Richard, a 62-year-old accountant. His daily diet was the picture of modern convenience: sandwiches, diet soda, and late-night takeout. His cholesterol was rising, his blood pressure was stubbornly high, and diabetes was knocking at the door. Rather than hand him another prescription, I challenged him to one small step: add a single vegetable to every meal. That's it. 6 months later, Richard's numbers told a different story. His blood pressure improved so much that we were able to remove one of his medications. His energy returned. His face looked lighter, brighter. This is the profound truth most people underestimate: the power of small, consistent choices. Prevention doesn't come from a miracle pill or an overnight cure. It comes from the quiet, daily decision to nourish your body before disease has a chance to take root. 2. Saving money by investing in health. Let's talk about something many people overlook when they think about lifestyle choices: money. Medical care, especially in the United States, is expensive. Even with insurance, the copays, prescriptions, and surprise bills can pile up like a mountain. And here's a harsh reality I've seen again and again. Chronic illnesses such as diabetes, heart disease, and obesity are not just health problems, they're financial traps. Families drain their savings, retirees lose independence, and many live with the constant fear of medical debt. But here's the encouraging side. Prevention doesn't just save lives, it saves wallets. Think about Steve Jobs. Despite being one of the wealthiest men on the planet, his health battles reminded us all of something money can't always buy: time. Jobs once admitted that while he could pay for the best doctors, he deeply regretted not prioritizing healthier habits earlier in life. His story is a sobering reminder that prevention is priceless, far cheaper, and far more powerful than treatment after disease strikes. On the other end of the spectrum, look at Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in history. He's open about the fact that he still enjoys indulgences like soda and hamburgers, but here's the hidden piece most people don't see. Buffett balances those habits with regular medical checkups and a discipline for moderation. That's how, even in his 92nd, he's still running Berkshire Hathaway. His approach illustrates that investing in health is just as critical as investing in stocks, because one fuels the other. And then there's Janet, a retired school teacher I've known for over 15 years. When I first met her, she was on 4 different prescriptions, one for cholesterol, one for blood pressure, one for anxiety, and another for sleep. She lived frugally, but the medication costs were eating into her pension. Together, we worked on lifestyle changes. She began walking every morning, cooking with fresh produce, and practicing simple breathing exercises at night. It wasn't fast, but it was steady. A year later, she was down to just 1 low-dose medication. And you know what she told me with tears in her eyes? That the money she saved now goes toward vacations with her grandchildren, something no pill ever gave her. Here's the point. When you invest in your health today with vegetables, exercise, stress control, and regular checkups, you're not just adding years to your life. You're putting dollars back into your pocket. Every step toward prevention is a step away from unnecessary prescriptions, emergency room visits, and frightening hospital bills. In medicine, we often talk about return on investment. With health, the ROI is extraordinary. Every walk, every balanced meal, every good night of sleep pays you back, not just in longevity, but in freedom. 3. Adding years and quality to life. When we talk about longevity, most people focus on the number of years, but here's the truth I've learned after treating thousands of patients. It's not just about living longer, it's about living better. Science tells us that healthy habits can add up to 14 years to your life. 14 years, that's more than a decade of extra birthdays, family reunions, holidays, and mornings spent waking up with energy instead of pain. But what matters just as much is the quality of those years. Let me give you some powerful examples. Take Nelson Mandela. He lived to be 95, despite spending 27 years in prison. What kept him alive wasn't just genetics, it was his discipline, his simple daily routines, and his unshakable sense of purpose. He walked regularly, he ate modest meals, and he practiced resilience, not just in body, but in mind. Mandela showed the world that longevity is tied not only to diet and movement, but to mental health and meaning. Or consider Jimmy Carter, the former US president. At over 90 years old, even while battling serious illness, he remained mentally sharp and physically active. He credited his long life to moderation in alcohol, a diet that leaned on whole foods, daily work outdoors, and deep spiritual grounding. Carter's example reminds us that health is not just about avoiding disease, it's about building a lifestyle that sustains vitality. In my own practice, I remember a patient named George, a retired firefighter in his late 52nd when I first met him. He smoked for decades and carried extra weight from years of eating on the go. But when his first grandchild was born, something clicked. He quit smoking, started walking every evening, and swapped fast food for home-cooked meals. 10 years later, he was in better shape at 68 than he had been at 48. He used to say, "Doc, I don't just want to live long. I want to run around with my grandkids without gasping for breath." And he did. That's the point. Longevity is not about simply adding time to the clock. It's about adding energy, purpose, and independence to your life. I've seen patients who lived into their 90s but spent their last decade bedridden, not because of fate, but because of neglecting simple habits. And I've seen others, like Eleanor Roosevelt, who thrived with vitality into old age, still writing, traveling, and influencing the world well into her 70s and 80s. The difference isn't magic, it's daily choices, eating whole foods instead of processed ones, moving the body every single day, staying mentally engaged, and nurturing relationships. Longevity doesn't come in a pill bottle, it comes from the way you live your ordinary days. Because when you stack enough healthy days together, they turn into extraordinary years. 4. Living healthy, loving the planet. Here's something many people don't realize. The way you care for your own body often overlaps with the way you care for the planet. Over 70% of the foods in American supermarkets today are what we call ultra-processed. They're filled with additives, refined grains, artificial flavors, and chemicals designed to keep you hooked. Not only do these foods harm your arteries and your metabolism, but their production also drives greenhouse gas emissions, deforestation, water scarcity, and mountains of plastic waste. So here's the fascinating truth. By choosing a healthier lifestyle, you're not just adding years to your life, you're protecting the world your children and grandchildren will inherit. Let's look at a few powerful, real-life examples. Think of Pope Francis. Beyond his role as a spiritual leader, he has been one of the loudest global voices, reminding us that the health of the planet and the health of people are deeply connected. He's urged communities to embrace simpler, more natural ways of living, eating local foods, reducing waste, and walking rather than driving when possible. This wisdom isn't just about saving the earth. It's also the prescription for preventing diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. Or consider Prince Charles, now King Charles III, who long before it was fashionable, promoted organic farming and sustainable food practices. He often spoke about the danger of processed foods and the importance of fresh produce, not only for human health, but for the soil and ecosystems. His advocacy reflects what medicine has been saying for decades. When we eat whole, unprocessed foods, everyone wins: our hearts, our waistlines, and our planet. And I'll never forget a patient of mine, Maria, in her early 70s. She started biking short distances around her neighborhood instead of driving. At first, it was just to save money on gas. But within 6 months, she had lost 15 pounds, her cholesterol dropped, and her neighbors began joining her rides. What started as a personal health choice became a ripple effect in her community. Fewer car trips, more fresh air, and stronger friendships. This is what I call the double dividend of health. When you choose whole foods over packaged ones, you're reducing demand for harmful industries. When you walk, bike, or garden, you're not only strengthening your muscles and joints, you're also lowering carbon emissions. Healthy living is not just personal medicine, it's planetary medicine. And for seniors especially, this carries a powerful legacy. Every salad you eat, every step you take, every time you choose fresh food over fast food, you're protecting both your own body and the future of generations to come. 5. Practical ways to start: small, smart, and sustainable. When people hear me talk about lifestyle medicine, many imagine it requires a massive, overnight overhaul, giving up every comfort food, signing up for marathons, or spending hours meditating. That's not realistic. And honestly, it almost always fails. The key is this: start small and start smart. In medicine, we often use the term SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Why? Because vague goals like "I'll eat healthier" or "I'll exercise more" sound good, but they fall apart without structure. Instead, something like "I'll add 1 serving of vegetables to lunch 3 times a week" is measurable, realistic, and sustainable. Let's break this down with 5 proven areas anyone can begin with today. 1. Eat more vegetables. We've known for decades that vegetables are nature's strongest medicine. A 2020 review confirmed that people who eat more fruits and vegetables have significantly lower risk of heart disease, stroke, cancer, and premature death. But don't think you need to leap from 0 vegetables to 9 servings overnight. Start with one simple step: add a vegetable to your dinner plate. Take Barack Obama, for instance. During his presidency, his wife Michelle made healthy eating a family priority. She turned the White House garden into a living example of how vegetables can be integrated into daily life. Obama himself often spoke about balancing indulgences with lean proteins, whole grains, and vegetables. That kind of example at the highest level of leadership shows us that vegetables aren't extras, they're the foundation. 2. Swap in whole grains. Research links whole grains to a reduced risk of diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and even certain cancers. The difference between a slice of white bread and a slice of whole grain bread might look small, but inside your body, it's huge. Whole grains keep blood sugar steady, fuel your brain, and reduce inflammation. Start with one swap. Replace your morning cereal with oatmeal, or swap white rice for brown rice once a week. My patient Thomas, a 72-year-old engineer, did exactly this. Within 6 months, his blood sugar stabilized so much that his doctor reduced his diabetes medication. 3. Be more active. Exercise doesn't have to mean sweating in a gym. What matters is moving your body in a way you enjoy. Walking, cycling, dancing, Pilates, all of these count. The CDC recommends 150 minutes of moderate activity a week, but if that feels overwhelming, start with 10 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Think about Pope John Paul II. Even in his later years, he was known for walking outdoors daily, often in nature. That simple practice not only kept his body moving, but also supported his mental and spiritual health. I had a patient named Carlos, a 65-year-old retired bus driver. He hated gyms, but loved salsa music. So instead of pushing him into weights, I encouraged him to dance with his wife 3 nights a week in their living room. It became their routine, and 6 months later, he lost 12 pounds, lowered his blood pressure, and saved his marriage from the drift of retirement boredom. 4. Maintain friendships. Loneliness is one of the most underestimated health risks. In fact, studies show that chronic loneliness is as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Even if you can't see friends in person, schedule weekly phone calls or video chats. Emotional connection boosts endorphins, lowers stress, and strengthens immunity. Look at Desmond Tutu, the South African Archbishop. His laughter, friendships, and community engagement were legendary. Even during struggles, he credited connection with others as the force that kept him joyful and resilient into his 80s. I recall Margaret, an 80-year-old widow who began joining a weekly Zoom book club during the pandemic. She told me it gave her a reason to get dressed, smile, and engage. Within months, her depression lifted, and her doctor noted improvements in her blood pressure. Relationships heal. 5. Control stress. Stress is a silent killer. It raises blood pressure, weakens immunity, disrupts sleep, and accelerates aging. Exercise helps by releasing endorphins, but other practices like meditation, journaling, deep breathing, and spending time in nature are equally powerful. Consider Oprah Winfrey. Despite decades of pressure as one of the most influential women in the world, she has openly credited meditation and mindfulness as anchors that keep her balanced. She's shown millions that calming the mind is just as critical as training the body. The bigger picture. Here's the truth. Healthy living isn't about chasing perfection. It's about building momentum. One vegetable, one walk, one phone call to a friend. These tiny acts stack up into massive change. You don't have to live like a monk or cut out every indulgence. In fact, flexibility is part of health. Have the ice cream, enjoy the wine, take the rest day. What matters is the pattern, not the exception. Because when you choose even one small action toward health, you set off a chain reaction. Your body notices, your mind notices, and your future self thanks you. The role of moderation. Now, here's where many people go wrong. They treat healthy living like a prison sentence. They think it means no sugar, no wine, no comfort food, no days off. But let me tell you something important. Rigidity breaks people. Flexibility sustains them. One of the healthiest patients I've ever had, a 79-year-old grandmother named Alice, told me her secret wasn't perfection, it was balance. She ate vegetables every day, yes. She walked daily, yes. But she also enjoyed her scoop of ice cream on Sundays, and she never missed sharing a glass of red wine with her husband on Friday nights. She lived into her 92nd with energy because she found joy in moderation. Even world leaders understand this. Barack Obama was known to sneak in a cheeseburger now and then during his presidency, even while promoting healthy habits through Michelle's Let's Move campaign. Why? Because balance keeps you human, and enjoying life keeps you motivated. The truth is, strict all-or-nothing mindsets backfire. People who swear off all bad foods usually end up binging. People who exercise without rest days often burn out or get injured. Moderation isn't weakness, it's strategy. If there's one truth I hope you carry with you after today, it's this. A healthy lifestyle is not a punishment, it's a gift. It saves you money. It prevents disease. It adds years to your life and life to your years. It even protects the planet your grandchildren will one day inherit. But above all, it gives you back something priceless: control. I've sat across from CEOs and truck drivers, grandmothers, and politicians, and time and again I've seen the same truth. Health isn't about status, wealth, or luck. It's about the small daily choices that anyone, anywhere, can make. Every time you add a vegetable to your plate, every time you swap white bread for whole grain, every time you pick up the phone to call a friend, every time you choose a short walk over the couch, You're not just making a choice for today, you're investing in your future self. And the beautiful part? You don't have to wait decades to feel it. Within weeks, you'll notice deeper sleep. Within months, your blood pressure and labs start to shift. Within a year, you'll feel younger than your age. So whether you're 50, 60, or even 80, hear me clearly, it is never too late. Healthy choices don't just extend your life, they restore dignity, independence, and joy. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't simply to add years to your life, it's to add life to your years. If this message resonated with you, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Senior Health After 50. Together, we can build a community where aging isn't something to fear, it's something to celebrate.